thank you guys for joining us. This is one of our first video episodes. This is our first video episode ever with the podcast. Yeah, so this will be it'll be video on Spotify and YouTube, which is kind of fun. So, yeah, we were talking. So we're doing an episode next week with an archaeologist, which is gonna be really fun. And I was like, we gotta try all this stuff out, and we've been meaning to catch up with you guys. So this is awesome. So. Today we just want to catch up, talk about how you guys have been, how's life been. I know you guys have been moving, a bunch of fun stuff. So where should we start?
Let's talk with the elephant in the room. Can you show us your house again? Can you move that computer around and can we see that again?
It's crazy.
So there's no decorations on the walls.
Oh, that hurts.
And there's just a picnic table. That's it. Pretty much everything. Mattresses are on the floor. Beds have all been moved.
Wow.
On mattresses and suitcases. So it's like camping inside the house, which is kind of how we came into the country. So
just throw a mattress down. My goodness.
Yep.
So,
Oh, man.
are you guys? How close is the new house to where you're at?
Yeah, it's pretty
Really
close.
close.
Thank goodness. When we were searching the last few months, it was kind of scarce. There was nothing really available, and so all of our contacts kept pushing us towards this one house, and thank the Lord, it just happens to be right down the street from where we are right now, and so we're still kind of in the same community, which is very beneficial for how many times we run back and forth, so it's good.
Yeah.
And it's on this side of town, so it's between this house and the kids' school. So it's not like we're taking a different route to take them to school or pick them up.
Wow. No,
Cool.
that's full circle, like you said. Just that's how you came in, and now you're heading out of the house. And
How long were you guys in that house?
Almost 8 years.
8 years.
Wow. So that's like home for them because all of them are still young. Wow. So I'm
Yeah.
sure it's been a wild change for the last few weeks.
Yeah, literally when we moved to the country, this is where we planted. So like he was saying, we had, because of importing some things and whatever, this is how we started. We had nothing for 8 weeks, just a table and some plastic chairs to do homework and to eat dinner at. And oddly enough, we hosted a team right away with nothing. And we are hosting another team this weekend.
Are you really?
With
Did you
nothing.
tell them to bring tents?
Oh, yeah, it was something, everything.
Air
Well,
mattresses?
Jeremy will get this. I mean, I used to be self-employed and kind of fix up houses, and we would move from house to house as we were fixing things up and reselling them and then keep going, right? But that was all before ministry, and this is the house that we've stayed in the longest in our married life.
And the kids'
Wow.
life. Yeah, so this is...
I'm about to say your oldest is 18, right? Or about to be 18. So
Just
since she
turned
was
it-
10, that's like all of her core memories are there. And then the rest of them, they're all younger. So that's wild.
Yeah. But
That's
we're really
all.
excited. Our
New
house,
chapter.
yeah, it's a kind of a fresh start, and we really see why God is doing this. Number one, because we are going to have a big transition when Avery moves, and so we're kind of all in this new stage together, which is fun.
They're all going to college. It's just one's going across the pond and one's staying right there. The rest are staying with you guys.
Exactly.
That's cool.
And with ministry really growing and increasing over there at the property, I can see why God is kind of separating us so that we can have more of a, private, restful area when we are at home. So I can see it.
Yeah, that's how's this going to change the way you guys do teams coming down? Is there, I mean, the house that you're in currently doing this podcast, it's obviously those that have not been there, it's very large. It was like a lot of rooms. You could host teams up to like 10, 12 people.
Yeah.
The new house, is it kind of the same or is it smaller? Is it changing everything?
It's smaller. I mean, it's only 4 bedrooms, and so we'll have a spare bedroom for when Avery comes or one of our parents come. But the place where you guys stayed in the fall, that'll be one of our options, especially if it's a larger team. That same owner has a smaller house that we just found out. It's down the street and around the corner, but I mean, it's an option as well, a cheaper option
no
for a
kidding.
smaller team. So
I mean,
Cool.
oddly enough, we did it before we knew that we were going to have to do it, right? God was orchestrating it when you guys came in November as a practice run, kind of preparing the way. And so even just looking back, it's like, I can see that he was, working everything together. So
I'll be honest, that hostel, it's called a hostel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Perfect.
I'll be
It was
honest,
really
it was perfect because we didn't feel like we were messing you guys up and your family, even though I know you love having people in your home. But it was so ideal. I mean, it was just because we were able to have the whole
Yeah, but you guys
place.
also had 20 people.
True.
20 people in their house.
It's a big team.
That was a big team.
There would be people crashing on the couch if we had done that in your home. It would have been.
That's
hey,
awesome.
it's happened before. It's happened
There'll
before.
be people everywhere.
Their mattresses
that's
on
cool.
the floor.
That's well. Hey, tell us real quick. Anything that obviously a lot of our church people listen to this. Is there anything that you can remember from the teams that we brought down that made you guys laugh or kind of sticks out that was kind of unique? Or did anybody do anything that was kind of funny? Or who sticks out? Who's the one person?
Well, I will remember, or I do remember this. I will say this. We were doing concrete, and this was the very first trip that you guys came on. And I remember you were covered in dust, and you were exhausted, covered in cement dust.
Jerome.
And you literally laid down on this gray couch, and you passed out for a second, and your body imprints of the cement
I'm
dust.
so sorry.
And I remember somebody saying, "Jeremy, get off the couch." You were like,
great.
This was supposed to be something that Jonah did, not me.
No, it looked like a chalk outline
Oh.
for where like a
Yeah, like when someone's been, like when there's been an accident.
Yeah, this was Jeremy's crime scene body outline.
Oh,
That's
kind of what
I
it
apologize.
That's funny.
That's
No,
hilarious.
yeah, we were talking earlier of just things to chat with you guys about, and I was telling Jeremy it's kind of cool. We've been able to be partnered with you guys for almost 5 years now, because we did back when we started this podcast for ever ago. You were our first actual guest, and so I was telling him it's just cool to see how far along you guys have come down there with the safe houses, the church, all that good stuff, and just how we've been able to come down every year and bring people. So it's y'all feel part of our church family at this point now.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely. I would echo that to eternity, brother. That is an awesome way to put it, because in answer to your question, I'll always remember you guys being the ones that came down and broke ground on the first safe house.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I mean, the whole tent thing where we had to go put up this makeshift tent because it was pouring the rain every day, and the walls that the trenches we were digging, the walls were caving in. Man, as hard as it was, and as much as that made us want to be angry or frustrated, I mean, it is a good memory. And now that there are actually people living in that house, hopefully long term, and coming to church every Sunday with us and worshiping, being poured into, it is always going to be a core memory for us. And God says, plant those flags, build those altars, right? And when people ask, this is why this is here, we can always look at that first safe house and be your team, this is why that
That's
house
cool.
is here.
Oh, you guys built those to withstand hurricanes and everything else. I mean, that's they are. I love that you have the forethought to actually build it sturdy enough to where you could put a second level on. They all have stairs going up to the top, obviously, but that's for another level, which for the future, of course. But no, that was an intense 4 or 5 days when we were working, But it was we were all let's get it done, let's figure it out, let's bring in more concrete, bring in whatever we need to. Rachel, you were covered head to toe too, so you were pretty dirty. Same with
Who
the
did you have on
kids.
that team? I know you had Andre, right?
Andre, I think Dave Elias. There was Dan Sudo.
Wow.
Andrew Malnar. Mac.
Yeah.
Mac was on
Nice.
that team.
Zach? Jumping
Dan
in
Zach.
the
Dan Zach. That's right. He was
Eric
first
Gass.
time. Eric Gasser. That's right. I forgot he came with us. He was clutch. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
That was a very different looking team than the one we just had.
Yeah.
The one that we
That
just
was-
had this last time.
it was all dudes.
was all
Yeah.
dudes.
We were like, we'll travel, because that was COVID, right? It was. We were afraid. Who knew what was what and all that? But we were like, you know what? We really need to do this trip. We really need to get down there. And so, yeah, we had to get tested when we got down there, and then when we flew back out, and it was a little bit scary because it was like you could get stuck in the DR for like a month, and so you guys were like, "It's okay."
Yeah, we wouldn't want to be stuck in the DR for more than a month. Hi, what's up?
No, that's cool. Out of all the teams, I mean, because we've done 4 teams now.
You 3 or 4?
3 or 4. Anyways, they've all been different, right? You guys, I mean, the first year you guys did pretty much just building. And then was the year after that, was that the year Martin went down?
That's correct.
And then last year, you guys went back and did like the VBS stuff. So this will be year 4 coming up. So
Yeah. You want to tell them what we're thinking about year 4?
yeah, I mean, this is live on the podcast. It'd be good. No, we think it'd be kind of fun. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but to do like a student trip, bring down some teens, which I know obviously your oldest teen will be gone by that point, but maybe she'll come back to hang out with the squad. But all seniors.
She was the ringleader, so we might need her.
Bring in a bunch of seniors.
Say that again.
She
Yeah.
does love when we have teams. That's
That's
a heartbeat of hers. Like that's really what she loves to do.
Yeah, we have a large group of seniors this next year, like 30 plus. So we're like, maybe we'll just do a senior team, bring down a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds, and do a bunch of cool stuff with you guys. So we got to figure out some dates with you guys soon, but it'll be something fun to look forward to. Megan and I bring them down and be a good time. So
And they're all going to stay in your room.
The new house.
we'll take that 4th bedroom. We'll fill it up.
Buddy.
That's cool. You guys already hinted at it a little bit with the safe houses. I mean, we helped build the first one. You have 3 of them now, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's just pretty cool. And then you said people are in it now. So, I mean, it wasn't that one of our questions, just kind of the importance of getting people in those, the heart behind it again for people that don't really know why you guys have built those in the past and stuff. So, yeah, what's that looked like getting to having people in there now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So the first part of our journey being here was to learn. That was the first stage. We wanted to learn. We wanted to find out people in the sex trade. Why are they where they're at? Like, tell me your story. And so we would go to the hot spots on the island, and we would prayer walk what we would call the strip, and we would ask girls on the strip if they were willing to sit down and have dinner and have a conversation. And what we learned was that a lot of times, or most times, before it ever gets to what we would say is a commercial end, it starts in the home. Like, you begin to just learn what their normal is like, and it's a lot different than the normal my kids or your kids grow up with in the States. And so it starts up here in the mountains, in what we would call the campo, the village, where it's just normal to trade and pimp your kid out for whatever is necessary. And when that's your mindset growing up, when that's drilled into you, that your value is in what you can offer someone or what someone will pay for you, then the obvious end to that is, I'm going to do this for a living because this is the best job that I could get. So even if there's no thumb, like you're not under somebody's thumb, you're not in the commercial end being held captive, like we would think when we hear that word trafficking, right? It's still the sex trade. It's still a form of slavery, because their minds and their hearts have been enslaved from a very young age that this is okay and this is normal. And so the heartbeat behind it was not, hey, we need to go in undercover and rescue these girls. The heartbeat behind it was, do what Jesus has done for us. He pursued me when I was like, thanks for giving me life, no thanks for telling me how to live it, right? He pursued me anyways. He pursued me with a love that was the Father's best for me at great cost to himself. And so that's where the name Love Restored comes from. We want to restore that definition, that truth of true love in Christ, and by looking at the Bible, seeing what he's done for us. And we want to do that. We want to go into the street. We want to pursue a relationship. And as we're pursuing that relationship, there comes a point where a lot of times a young lady is at their end, right? They're at that moment where they're just like, I've had enough. And an invitation comes. Would you like to come? Would you like to have a safe place where you can rest, where you can be poured into? And I'll be honest, like a lot of our invitations have been rejected, way more than have been accepted.
Why do you think that's the case?
Scary. It's new.
I think we're afraid of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we go back to those wells, those empty wells, as we read about in scripture, where like they don't work, right? But we go back to them and we try to draw from them anyway because that's what's known, that's what's comfortable. And I think it's no different for one of these ladies here in the street that's just trying to make ends meet, you know. She would rather go ahead and with what's known to her, even though tomorrow she doesn't know where the next meal's coming from or how she's going to feed her kids, but like she would rather go forward with that because she's always done that than to come into a situation here where she doesn't, like, she may know us and she's been building a relationship with us, but she doesn't quite trust us fully. And she doesn't know, like, okay, if this is temporary, then what? Like, am I going to be just am I just going to be held captive by them and not have the same freedom I have now? Right. It could be any number of things really, but that's kind of where I go, what I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
And even the way like you describe it, it's just a completely different concept than I think people back here would think of when the whole I'm a slave, I've got no hope, there's no exit door mentality from birth. Essentially, it isn't like a trafficking situation that you'd think of, you know, I know you guys have talked a lot about this, where it's, you know, someone from the States and they get pulled out of the family and the way of life here, and now you're doing this, and now you're being rescued from this. It's, you've implanted yourself into a culture where it's essentially groomed and embedded. It's the only world that they've known. And so what you guys are doing isn't simply just taking someone and replanting them. You're teaching a new way of life. You're teaching a completely new concept that they've never experienced or even known before, which is why it's so much deeper and so much bigger, so much more powerful and more difficult than just, say, if you guys were a SWAT team that just busted houses down. Right. No, you're literally penetrating a dark place with the love of Christ, and that's something that none of these people have experienced before. Freedom could be scary, right?
Amen. Yes. Yeah. And I would even say this, like even Rahab, which is in Northeast Ohio, will tell you their reentry rate into the street is in the 90%.
Yeah. Oh, so, man.
Well, and we're not experts by any means. Like, you know, first of all, these kinds of situations look different country to country. And even different places in this country, things look different. But it's so much more than just sex trafficking. It literally is human trafficking, because these people are always in survival mode. They're always having to be transient, whether it's due to immigration, whether it's due to family situations where parents die and then they're uprooted and like moved in with a neighbor, or whether the parents you know, just leave them behind, ship them back to Haiti. Like, there's just so many hard situations that it's so much more, like, there's just no stability in their families. There's no sense of norm. And so talking about people who are afraid to come into the program, they can't even see outside of their situation. They don't even know that there is something better, right? Like they've been set up for false promises and empty hopes their entire life. So they can't see outside of their situation. So it is scary.
That really is where the slavery is, I think, the core of it. More than like what they're doing, it's their minds have been enslaved to nothing but hopelessness their entire lives. And that's what you're giving them.
And if you think about it, like our definition coming from the States, moving here in the beginning of what is trafficking has changed drastically to this day.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, you boil it down to the bare minimum, and this world is an exploitation of vulnerability. That's what it is. So in any way that they are vulnerable and somebody tries to exploit that, whether that's somebody that they trust, a family member, a friend, whatever, or not. Like I said, it's not always, hey, you're enslaved and you're held captive and you're under somebody's thumb. It's, this is what is normal to me. And they don't even know that it's, there's another, like Rachel said, that there's a better way.
And not to mention the generational strongholds and curses that are that. I mean, we watched one of the girls that was in our program last year. She was living outside of the safe houses, but she was in the program. Just talked to her the other day and found out that the very same situation that she came from, long story short, she came over here from Haiti. She moved in with a sister. Her sister sold her to a man. At 15. She was, pregnant at an early age, had 3 kids, and now is running back to all of that. She decided to leave the program. Again, it's a long story, but finding out that she just sent her kids back to that same sister that sold her because she doesn't want to raise her kids anymore.
How hard is it for you guys going through? You're trying everything you can. We have this perspective in America, right? Like, let's go kick some doors down, and it's like
the movie that came out, like the Sound of Freedom or whatever. That's what we picture is like being that guy just kicking doors down, saving kids, but it's like not.
It's
that
like
easy.
if you can just free them, then they're free. But like you said, it's the generational, bondage. It's trying to break those chains of like that family curse, pretty much. Like for you guys, how difficult is that? Where you pour your time, your resources, your energy, and then to see that girl to go back, is that? You guys, how do you deal with that? I mean, none of us have to deal with anything like that. Like, how do you keep yourselves motivated every day to keep doing it?
It's exhausting. I will tell you that.
Right.
And I think keeping, like we said, at the forefront of our minds that there is going to be in our minds, in our limited viewpoint, right? A greater number of girls that say, or that maybe we say, that didn't work. This feels like a failure. Then there is going to be ones that just really latch on and say, I'm in it for the long haul. And we have to keep that at the forefront of our minds, knowing that it's not anything based on us personally or what we do or didn't do, but it's God who is at work. And we have to be obedient, even when it feels like you're spinning your wheels. And I know for anybody in ministry, especially you, Jeremy, that is a reality, right? It might feel a little different being down here than it does being in, North American church every Sunday, but there is some similarity to it.
Yeah.
Nothing like ministry.
Well, yeah, there's like this idea of like sometimes in ministry, especially what you guys are doing, it feels like you are spinning your wheels, and it's like you don't even know that maybe the seed you're planting, or they might come back around to it later on, but that doesn't mean that we stop working. So that's cool that you guys just keep going.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the big thing. Who has ever started something impactful where they saw the immediate results of their work? Think about any missionary who's ever tried to break ground in any new mission field in one sense. And what you guys are doing is so unheard of. I mean, to the fact that people in America don't even understand what trafficking means on this part of the world, because they do see movies like Sound of Freedom or Taken or whatever, where essentially it's the concept of someone's being taken from a good home, being sold into something terrible, and now they're rescued from that, and they just can't wait to get home back to freedom. Whereas the world we're living in right now, that you're living in, not us, but you're living in right now, is home is prison.
It's much more subtle, right?
Yeah, there's nothing to be stolen from because it's always been that way. And it's just essentially just exploiting that vulnerability, like you said. And it's what you're bringing in is a completely new way of living and thinking. And so I just want to tag on the spinning wheel thing, as what you're doing almost prophetically in building those safe houses is putting a foundation in the ground. And like your goal in helping whatever women will take this is the idea of making waves. These women being plants that grow, and how cool is the phrase that free people will free people? Right. So the impact you make on these ladies will exponentially grow into something that we'll probably never see in our lifetime.
And if you've been on a team, you've heard Rachel say this, like the ultimate goal for us, what is the biggest win, right? What is the Super Bowl of wins in the world that we're in right now? And that is, and we may not get to see it, but that is if we would have, God would give us one lady or more that would come through the program, that would get on our feet, that would be a independent Christ-following adult, and then would want to actually participate in leading the program for other women.
Yeah. Empowering other women, That's cool. I was going to ask you guys, I mean, in your experience so far, I mean, we think of trafficking and it's just this thing that we don't like to think about. The people that you guys have ran into and worked with, I mean, a lot of times is it younger people? The age, is it white? Because I mean, like we hear of child trafficking and that just like makes me like sick to my stomach. So, I mean, you're saying like a girl that was 15 when her sister's selling her. So it's in just your 8 years of experience down there, kind of how's that like looked? Because I mean, not to scare people, but I think the age thing also kind of freaks me out where it's like, man, these like you said, John, it's from birth, but when it's starting to fully take root and they are being sold for this kind of stuff.
Well, the three closest or most I don't know how to say it, prevalent cases that we're working right now. One is in her young 20s. One is
We've got a couple teenagers,
15.
and a couple of them are pregnant due to either rape or some kind of sexual abuse. There's a lot of domestic violence because then you have voodoo, thrown in the mix, and that is a heavy, heavy thing. We're realizing it takes place way more than we even know.
Really?
But the third one's 16. So
Wow.
we have a young lady living in a safe house that's in her young 20s, 20 or 22.
With 3 little kids.
With 3 little boys. Then there's a girl that's accepted the invitation to come in with 2 little kids. She's 16.
Wow.
And then there's another one who the authorities have taken us on a visit to the house.
Man.
They're trying to place her currently.
Wow.
And then we have
she's 15 and pregnant.
Yeah, and
That's
then we
crazy.
have one
So-
ED. So
Everybody listening right now, this is a perfect example of why you need to pray for the Stones every single day. Like, this is the warfare. This is the battlefront. This is the reality. Like, pray, people.
Yeah. No,
Pray
100%.
pray that they want it, because the hardest lesson that we're learning right now is that we can't want things more than they want them for themselves.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
so
tough.
it is, because we want it. We can see where there is freedom. We know the hope that we can have through Jesus. They just see it right now.
Yeah.
So whether God floods their dreams with his presence, or whether he surrounds them, with other people who are encouraging them in this capacity to come. They've been exposed. They know. They just need, boldness to walk away. So
Do you guys feel the spiritual pushback constantly while you're there? I mean, like, we feel it obviously up here, but like, the first mission trip we went on, we were zipping down to the community close to you guys, do some stuff, and you're like, it was kind of late at night, and you're like, all right, we got to get in and get out. Like, voodoo's about to happen, and it was like so different.
honest to goodness, I don't know why God's allowing us to see a lot of visual demonic activity currently.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have been witnessed, and without being dramatic, there's been some demonic possessions that we've inspired these last few weeks, and it's just been. I
mean, even that 15-year-old that we told you is pregnant. Authorities took us to her house. The dad of the girl that's pregnant is wanting to hurt her to kill the baby. And so, like, is he possessed? Well, I don't think so, because I've been around demonic possession, but I'm telling you, there is a darkness over that whole house. Yeah, and not just the house, but all the ones around it. And when you walk in, you just feel like the thickness of that evil, and you're like, man, why would anybody? I don't care how angry I am at one of my daughters for making that kind of mistake. I would never ever think of trying to hurt her in order to kill the baby inside.
Yeah.
Wow. And
so it's just like, yeah, we do. We feel it. And I don't know why sometimes you're in the States and you're numb to it, but it's a reality.
Well, I think here people call it what it is, right?
Yeah.
In the States, we have so many medications, we have so many diagnoses, we have like whatever, we have names for everything. And not that sometimes that isn't necessary, it very much is. There's people wiser than us who have created these things, but at the same time, because everyone is aware,
Mm-hmm.
and it just, they call it what it is down here. So
No, absolutely. Do you feel like it's coming from, do you feel like it's everything with Haiti that's going on Haiti, going on over in Haiti? Do you feel like it's increasing because more are trying to get in the DR, or do you feel like it's just there and it's just the culture of the
whole
DR
island,
as well?
Well, that, yeah.
yeah, I don't know if we're just becoming more aware of it. The thicker that we get into the community and the relationships that are growing deeper, and the more we're trying to bring people in, if God is just revealing this, like, I don't know if it's just been prevalent this whole time and we just didn't know.
But there's a lot of turnover down in that community that you've walked and prayed through with us, and it's primarily Haitian. You know that, like, there are Dominicans down there, but yeah, it just, God's allowing us to see it more often now.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that is, but
Well, that makes sense.
it
We're
could be
actually
any number of
seeing-
reasons.
Yeah, we're seeing more up here as well, oddly enough.
Yeah. No, our last podcast episode was about just the reality of angels and demons, because most people, they, like you said, up here, we're numb to it. We just don't act like it's going on, but it's, me and Jonah, I don't know if you listened to it yet, but that book, it's like, that's what he wants. He wants us to be numb and just not realizing that he's at work all around us. So it is kind of spooky though down there that people just call it what it is. Up here, we're like, oh, it's whatever illness that you've been diagnosed by a psychologist, and it's like it could be some oppression or demonization going on too.
Well, and
As
we're
a surgeon,
sorry, go ahead.
no, my bad. I said, as a surgeon, in one sense, I'd almost prefer to know exactly what it is I'm going against.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. If a doctor's like, well, if this is cancer, is this a heart condition, or do you have a cold? I'd rather be like, on the spiritual plane, like, no, it's almost refreshing in one sense. We know exactly what this is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't euphemize it. This is spiritual warfare. We know exactly what weapons we need to come against it in one sense. It's not a question. So that's just where I come from. I'm like, I prefer that, honestly.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
You know?
Well, and I think that's the other thing that we're learning is how to fight it, right? I mean, again, not trying to like be dramatic in the sense, but like we were part of an exorcism a few weeks ago with one of our Haitian guys. And it was crazy how the Spirit brought it to our attention, and we knew, like, we identified it right away. It was like, this is not drugs, this is not alcohol, this is demonic possession. And me, like, I'm in the situation before Nate gets there, and I'm, of course, like, praying, but scared to death, right? Because how many times do we actually pray for demons to flee? I mean, probably not on the daily, right? Sometimes, but not on the daily.
More lately than not.
Right.
Well, then, because one of our Haitian guys who is familiar with this, I'm praying against it, that the demon will flee, and he walks in and he's like speaking to the demon.
Speaks directly to him.
And I'm like, whoa. This is outside of my church box. Like, what's happening?
I haven't done this before.
No, Jesus has done this in the Bible, and I, but never have I ever thought to speak to a demon personally.
You have the authority through Christ. I mean, that's the only reason why you do.
Yeah, that's probably one of our next things that we want to talk about coming up after. I mean, you said we have plans for next week, but we want to talk about like the topic of deliverance, of seeing people, because we've, like you said, we've had experience here, and it's just so wild. Because like when you see somebody walk in and they're like confronting it, it's pretty wild. So
100%. Yeah.
No, I mean, we could talk all day about this kind of stuff, but
man, I know.
let's pivot for a second. Another cool thing that you guys have been doing, if we have to come back to that's fine, but the church, right? When you moved down there, that wasn't even really on the radar, and now that's kind of become this thing. You guys have a space. I haven't even been there yet. I'm like, I feel left out. I need to go. I'm like the only
It's
one.
awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
We are super blessed. Yes.
Yeah. So how did that come to be for those that don't know? Because I feel like when you guys were here, we just hinted on it for a second, but how'd the church birth, and then kind of what's the status with it right now?
Yeah, I mean, the whole property, right, isn't very big.
Yeah.
It's about a half acre, maybe a little bigger. But
Oh, wow.
you have a driveway down the center of the property, and on the right-hand side, as you pull in, there are the 3 safe houses, and in the back is the classroom, the English classroom, and we have a street kid classroom. It's called...
It's through Open Schools Worldwide.
Open Schools
It's a Haitian class for kids who can't go to school.
They at least have
awesome.
to have a birth certificate to enroll in the public school system here.
Oh, wow.
So for a lot of them, they don't have that, and Cesar Valdez is the co-pastor with me at the church, and so he works for another ministry that has this open schools worldwide curriculum. And so it kind of came together organically where we saw the opportunity. God gave us a Haitian teacher who's been educated in the public school system, gone all the way through it, has the legal right to be here, and is now our teacher for this program, and has now been trained through Cesar and his program. And so it's a piloted program this year, but it's working out well.
Wow.
But that's the right side. The left side was supposed to be more safe houses, kind of just matching what's on the right side. And back in 2021, like right as you guys were coming here for the first time, he came to our front door with his wife, and he said, "Hey, we're helping at this church down the street." And we have had a relationship with Cesar and Sabrina for a long time. He used to be the director at Doulos, where our kids go to school. But we hadn't seen him in a while, and he came to the front door, and he said, "We're helping at this church down the street." He said, we would like to ask you about your classroom space, because we're losing our space where we worship. The owner wants it back. It's like a chicken coop. I mean, it is not. I can take you down there and show you. It's just this ragtag building, right? But the owner wanted it back, and so they were giving them to the end of the year to then find a new space. And he said, I was wondering, would your English classroom be available on Sunday mornings? Could we rent it? And I basically said, no, you can't rent it, because it's not ours. This belongs to the kingdom. God gave us this property.
Just use it.
He's allowed us to put this here. Like, I know you well enough to know you're not going to be coming here teaching heresy. Like, you can have the space on Sunday mornings. Well, those conversations continued, and they turned into, man, we could really use some help. And I looked at Rachel and I was like, this is not why we came here.
I didn't sign up to be a pastor's wife.
We did not come here to church.
I'm just kidding.
We're giving ourselves all the reasons to not do it, right? That's how we are. But anyways, we surrendered to that, and come to find out our church that we were members at the time, Levid, they were kind of mothering this church along the way, because they had lost their pastor who had planted the church. He had to go back to his home country with his wife who was sick. And so he had come to them asking for their help, saying, I don't want the congregation to just die. Could you send somebody to help? And they sent Cesar. And so,
wow.
Full circle, right? Like a member of the church we were members at, somebody we had been friends with for a long time, was sent down there by our church, which we didn't even know, to help out. He feels like, I'm not a pastor. I don't have the gifts to do this, but I could really use some help. And so the church, when we go to talk to our elders and deacons at our church, they're saying, yeah, we're all behind this 100%.
Wow.
Like, we don't feel like you're cutting us out or ditching us. Like, we are sending you to help Cesar and Sabrina, just like we sent them when his name is Pastor Ivan, when Pastor Ivan left and had to go back to his country. So we want to see this through with you, and that's what they did. And so for the next year, they followed us and helped guide us in shepherding that congregation, and the congregation grew. It grew pretty quick.
Wow.
It went from about a dozen members to about 60 in a couple of months. And so we began to pray about what that would look like to change the plan for the property. God, what do you want? This is obviously, I don't have to have my hands on the plan like this, right? What do you want for this? And we put a plan together for a church building, and not just a church building, something we could use as like a community center.
Yeah, multi-purpose.
So
yeah.
You guys have been on teams, know that we have had a volleyball team at the public school across the street. We've had a basketball team at the public school across the street, and used those avenues for ministry. And so they do have their own courts, but it's outdoors. And so what would it look like to have them come when it's raining or rainy season, come and practice indoors? And so we kind of build it with that in mind. And yeah, what God has done since that original plan was revealed has been more than we could have asked. I mean, it's it is quite shocking to walk into that building every Sunday and just be like, wow, Lord, thank you for this. Thank you.
That's so cool.
Because it's unfolding in a whole lot of ways that we didn't even think, like the gym ministry. I think I was texting you the other day, Jeremy, like it's always been Landon, my son's dream. He's 13 years old. What's every 13-year-old boy want to do?
Play basketball,
work out.
Well, besides play basketball, they want to get strong. They
want to get swole.
The muscles, right? So he's been asking to go to the gym with me, and he's like, well, couldn't we have one over at the property and use it to like invite some of the kids my age in our neighborhood? So that's what we've been doing. We turned one of the rooms over at the church into a small gym. We've been inviting these boys in. Yesterday we had 9 of them. Tell you what, when we get to 9 or 10 in that little gym, it's about all we can handle.
Smells like BO.
I'm like, I'm suffering for you, Father. I'm suffering for you.
Yeah.
This is my cross.
But like the beautiful thing is, our, like, obviously our kids, but like our doulos kids, because Landon invites people from his school, and the public school kids are coming together. And so it's like our two worlds of doulos and the public school are coming together, and they're meshing in such a beautiful way that we couldn't have even, dreamed of. So
that's awesome.
So we're working out with them together. We're coaching them. And then we're talking about, we have a time where we sit down and we talk about what it means to be a man of God. And you know what? Cool. If there's no consumer, there's no desire for the product, then there's not going to be a product. That's kind of how I think about it. And like going back to the trafficking world, like if these men are like men of God seeking a woman of God for an entire lifetime, like you cut out the need or the desire for these people finding love, if that's what you want to call it, finding love in all the wrong places, right? And so I think it's another way, just like Rachel being in the school, it's another way for us to be in a preventative mode.
The touch point.
Yeah.
These kids who would never come to church on Sunday, every Tuesday I'm like, come to church, come, whatever. These kids who would never come now are coming Monday and Wednesday, so they're getting the gospel Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for sure. So it's just amazing.
No, I love the way you guys have just adapted with the property, right? I think it's I think that's so cool where you had this original plan, but you're willing to pivot, and how that's now bearing probably totally different fruit than you ever imagined. 8 years ago when you moved there, you're like, didn't think we'd have a church, but now you're using a church to reach kids, volleyball teams, all types of cool stuff. So I love that. That's so special.
And it almost makes sense.
What's God going to do with it, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, what's God going to do if that's what he's already done, and he's already just like opened our eyes, but like to what we didn't even realize it could be used for. What's he going to do with it in the future? That's where my mind keeps going. So
yeah.
I was going to say, it almost makes sense that the Lord would have you build a church when you're discovering in all of your years here of what it actually looks like to battle this thing, that it's essentially the most common sense thing ever, that it's the gospel of Jesus Christ that's going to be setting these people free ultimately and pulling them out of a life of slavery into restoration. So God says, no SWAT team. Yes, church. Like, isn't that insane? That's just the whole trajectory. If you're going to put like a chapter title over like this section of your life or your story in the Dominican this far, you could call it From SWAT Team to Church or something like that. It'd be kind of cool. Like,
that's cool.
Well, one of our number one complaints, or one of my number one complaints in the first couple of years of living here, is like, gosh, it's so frustrating not to be able to speak the language. It's so frustrating that we move to a different country and we feel like we can't even reach people for Jesus and spread the gospel. It's like, it took so much grit and like, time to just adapt and transition and learn. And it's like, man, Satan creeps in and is like, you were more effective in Ohio as a youth leader, or even just as like a small group leader, right? Because you could speak the language, you could pour into people.
Game.
Now it's like, wow, there's so many opportunities to pour into people, and God just keeps bringing these opportunities, like whether it's in the school or the gym or the church or the safe houses, and it's just like.
And I'm still in those shoes. I'm still thinking like, I don't have what it takes with the language to explain Joshua yesterday to those 9 boys, right? The story that we were in, and like but God gives you what you need in the moment, and they get it, and they're walking away saying, thanks for being here and taking the time with us. So I know, I can see it in their eyes that things are changing, and things are starting to click.
Yeah.
Now, whether they
That's
grasp
awesome.
onto it and hold on to it fast, I mean, that's going to take time to reveal,
Yeah.
but I do believe God's at work.
Well, I think, hey, for like the last little bit of time we have, because we're at about 45 minutes now, just the last little bit. I mean, how can our church, anybody that finds this, listens to it, how can they be praying for you guys? I mean, it's so cool when you guys come to town that you come here and we get to pray with you guys. So just from afar, how can we be praying for you guys right now?
Yes.
But again, so you
Yeah.
can pray for that. Obviously our family's going to go through some big changes with Avery going to college. We are in transition with houses.
We do have a big praise. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I even told you this.
Oh
Oh, here we go.
You're pregnant? Just kidding.
my God.
Jeremy's
No.
spreading rumors.
No.
Sorry.
So Liberty's not cheap. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Any college, like any of them, they're not cheap. And one of the things weighing on Avery's heart was, how am I going to pay for this? What am I going to graduate with all this debt? I better know what I'm getting myself into ahead of time. But we had a friend that lived here with us for many years, and then last year moved to Lynchburg because their kids were wanting to go to LU, and so. They got the husband went and got a job at LU so that he could, in
Wow.
a sense, get tuition taken care of for the kids. And I'm like, well, there's an idea, but God, you have me here, right? Like, I don't have an answer for Avery. And we were there at Sea Fall, they call it, college for a weekend back in September, Avery and I, and we were checking out the campus and everything. And we were meeting with that gentleman who had went and got a job there, and a close friend of ours. And he's telling us all about all the opportunities and what, how you can apply for each of these things. And one of them is a missionary kid scholarship. And
Nice.
it's like, but out of all the things I've told you about, that's probably the one that's the most competitive. He's like, she's got like a less than 2% chance. He's like, they usually give it to the kid whose family is serving in the bush over in Africa. And there's only like a handful of them. I think four or five that they give out per year.
Wow.
She got approved.
Nice. That's awesome.
We didn't get approved. It's based on like a lot of different factors, like what level they meet you at.
Yeah.
She got approved for a full tuition scholarship.
Wow.
through
God is good. That's
Very
4
amazing.
years?
LU. Yeah.
Been
It's
saving that bomb drop on. Doing
We
100
still
That's
get
so cool.
emotional
Yeah, I
about
don't know where it's at.
It's-
We have a little soundboard here. Let me find it. That deserves one of these. There we go.
That was awesome. Dropping a ball.
I love all the tacky stuff. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, no, Liberty is not cheap. I mean, I went to a small Christian school and it wasn't cheap, so I can imagine Liberty. The tuition is scary, but God's like, we got that. So that's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
so
good
you can
stuff.
be praising the Lord for that, but also praying for her transition, praying for our hearts as we go and drop her off
Yeah,
in August.
cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, getting away from
That's
it.
amazing.
You start crying on us.
seriously. And
Ugh.
obviously the safe houses, because we are in in go mode with that, and we do see God opening up doors and opening up like opportunities to invite people in. So just pray over the girls, because
And,
they just
and
really
their kids.
they just really need boldness to walk away. So
Mhm.
Cool.
The
Will
3
do.
boys that are over there right now, it's so funny. The one's 9 months, the other one's 2, and the oldest one's 3. And the 2 oldest ones, they come running to me and
That's
jump
awesome.
in my arms every morning.
usually
man.
people are scared of him.
They are.
I think
Really, I think it's bald. Like
You got the police officer look up here. Up here, he'll think you're a cop.
they love him. They
That's cool.
ignore me and they run to him.
but it's
You need that
funny,
male attention,
Yeah.
right?
It is.
Right, and I see like the heart of the Father in that, right? Like
Yeah.
I want to be. I don't know. I just want to be displaying that same kind of love and like those boys to grow up different.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. Well, hey, thank you guys for the time. we'll let you guys get back to your
Hold
day.
on real quick.
Oh, he's got more things.
Yeah, there's always closing us out before we're ready for.
We're about an hour. We're about an hour.
Wait, hold on.
I love, obviously, all you said. I love hearing the birds in the background.
Yeah.
That was like, oh man, springtime hasn't quite hit yet up here.
I think those are our birds. Are those your birds?
No, I think that has definitely.
Is that
theirs.
your birds?
Ours were the geese flying by, squawking.
There you
The
go.
Canadian geese in the Dominican. Thank God for that.
They're all up here now.
Yeah, there was a garbage truck in the background earlier. I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
get that later.
So just so you know, when we were down there last time, that something funny that happened is Jonah got stuck on the roof for many hours.
Stuck on the roof. No,
That's
I
hilarious.
learned. I was gonna say, is there any more waterproofness to that roof that we worked on, or is that all for naught?
Oh,
Oh no,
I'm just
it's
kidding.
working great.
Not all for naught. I
No.
had one of the coolest views. I keep, like we've said a million times, I had one of the coolest views and perspectives of the entire team for the entire trip, where I get to stand on a roof and see the entire village just like disperse.
Yeah.
And then I see the mountains. I'm like, no, this isn't so bad. This is fine.
See,
I do remember
oh,
you
go
saying
ahead.
And then lunch came, and the sun was actually cooking me on the roof because it was made of metal. And I realized that this is an oven, and so I needed to.
You're like,
I was
Bring me
talking
a
about
burger.
at the hostel, you
Oh.
got stuck on the roof.
Ooh, stuck on the roof of the hostel.
No,
Oh
you
yeah, yeah. Can you explain, please?
He went out on this balcony at the very top because there's like the third or fourth level, and he went out there and the door closed behind him, and so it locks, and so he's out there all by himself for like hours.
Wow.
He's like texting people, no one's responding.
Just up there to like get away with the Lord, you know?
But
Because
you knew parkour. Why don't you just climb down the outside?
if it would have come to that, I would. But it's essentially a glass wall
Oh, so yeah,
connected to
little tough.
everybody's room. I was like,
It was awesome.
That's great.
That's
That's
fun.
hilarious.
I did not
we
know
love
that.
you guys.
I
Appreciate
did
you
not know
guys.
that. I knew the compo.
Yeah.
you're frozen. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, did it work till the end? Well, that's good at least.
Yeah.
So, well,
Sad.
let's stop
Oh,
the
well.
recording. Let's see if that
Wait,
works. There they are.
They're back. Did you guys?
We lost you for a
we're back.
second.
We're
Yes,
back.
we're back.
There you go. Cool.
We said we love and miss you guys. Appreciate you guys.
We'll be in touch soon about a trip. So,
Right.
Sounds
Good.
great. Thanks
Cool.
for taking the
Praying
time
for
this
you
morning.
guys.
yeah, thank you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day.
You guys too.